Hello, my name is Dr. Rohan Weerasinghe and welcome to this short video on the double dip. My intention here is to give you an insight into the double dip to show you the impact it can have both on a personal and professional level on virtually anybody's life, and then give you some indication of what you can do in order to thrive through this inevitable difficult period for virtually anybody listening to this. What I'd like to say is this: treat this like a juggernaut heading right at you down the middle of the street. You have two choices. You can sit and be hit by it, and it will hit you. Otherwise, you can adapt, move around it, and learn to develop skills and tools to thrive through what will inevitably be a very difficult period for most people. Now, the double dip model is one of 3 or 4 different types of recession. For example, another one is a U-shaped recession where you get a drop and then it kind of curves out and comes straight back up the other side, or an L-shaped recession where you get a drop and then it flattens off and eventually comes back up, or you get the W form, which is the double dip. Examples of that are 1937, 1938 recessions, the 53 recession in the States, 1981, 1982 was also a form of a double dip as well. And it comes in 4 stages, and the first of the 4 stages is the primary recession. It's this huge drop that we've seen already where you get house prices dropping, banks get into trouble, interest rates have to be dropped, industries grind to a halt, people start to find themselves in situations where they lose their job, etc. The economy literally comes to a grinding halt. In order to stop that, you see massive government intervention. This is when we get the rebound period, the recovery period. This is when money is pumped into the marketplace, into major underpinning industries that keep the economy going, the car industries, the banking industry. We see money literally printed or borrowed from overseas like America did from China. All this in an attempt to recover, to generate and kickstart the economy. Interest rates are floored down to a very low level in order to get things moving forward. And eventually you start to get some pickup, some movement. But unfortunately, a lot of this is artificial because it's come from money being pumped into the marketplace. And when that supply line is stopped, when the money can't keep flowing in or can't keep being reproduced, literally that gets cut off. And the weak industries that have just been supporting themselves or been supported start to crumble again, and we start to see this double dip occur. And that's where we're right at now as I'm recording this. And then we see another drop. Interest rates are often increased initially. People start to lose their jobs again. Industries start to grind to another halt. And we go all the way down until finally that 4th stage of the recovery occurs, where we start to see a genuine recovery and the industries start to get into a place where the swing happens. And that could be 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years potentially after the initial recession started. Now, I believe there are 2 types of turning point. There are turning points where things happen to us and it causes an effect in our lives. And there are other turning points where we can create our own turning point to move our lives in a different direction. The double dip is a classic example of something happening to you, and it will affect many people in different ways. For example, employment. We know already that unemployment has increased during the recession, and during a double dip it will happen again. That's not unusual. People will start to lose their jobs. Businesses will start to struggle. Their model will have to change, otherwise they're going to die because the clients that they had before can't provide them with business, and so those businesses start to downsize or literally collapse. And during recession, hundreds of thousands of businesses literally go under. Homeowners start to struggle. And as we start to see and hear about in the news, people are struggling to pay their mortgages, and so they go into repossession, they lose their homes. And on the other side of it, first-time buyers are struggling because they can't get on the property ladder. And in fact now, as I'm talking to you, certainly in the UK, first-time buyer age is something like 37, 38 years of age, and as we go into a double dip, it's likely to extend and people will struggle to get on the property ladder. Divorce rates increase and often are seen to peak during recessionary periods. Financial challenges often are the biggest cause up of breakups during this period. There's a lot of strain. One member of the relationship loses their job, loses their career, and so that brings tension into the relationship. Arguments start to form. And as you can see here, that the recession has already caused divorce rates to increase. The double dip is just going to magnify that again. What's really significant about the last recession is the number of stress-related and anxiety-related health problems. And this is a direct result of worrying about their careers, worrying about their finances, worrying about their relationship. And that stress is starting to manifest itself through stress-related disorders. And in fact, one of the studies that's shown last year in 2011, 2010 was that from people that were made unemployed, 71% of them were actually in a state of depression. Personal finances become impacted massively by double dips. People can't borrow as much as they'd hoped to, or they're overextended, or they can't afford to pay money back. They can't afford to pay their mortgages, hence repossessions increase. And finally, family life is affected. Children get affected. The stress from the parents comes into the children. Communication breaks down. They don't get a chance to spend more time at home because they're out working very hard. Arguments ensue, and the family unit gets shattered as well. All these are turning points that exist and historically have happened during recessions and double dips, and it will happen again. The most successful people in the world through difficult periods like economic recessions and double dips learn to adapt and to grow through those circumstances. So there are 6 areas I would suggest you work on. The first one is to learn to re-educate yourself. No matter what your current situation, no matter what your experience, one of the first things to do is look at what you need to work on, which areas you need to expand into. Is it financial? Is it personal? Is it health? Is it business? Start to read books in areas that maybe you've not read before. Listen to CDs, audio programs. Get involved in personal development, personal growth. This may be a new area to you, but let me tell you, it's one of the most successful and one of the most powerfully growing areas in the world at the moment today. People's consciousness is rising through things like seminars and workshops. Get yourself into what I call an immersive environment where you're surrounded by like-minded people who genuinely want to grow. They're not going to give you negative, they're going to give you positive feedback, and you're going to expand through that experience as well. And not only that, you can draw on the knowledge of the speakers and the coaches and the mentors in that environment. That also includes things like webinars where you can get access to global information while sat at your own computer on a day-to-day basis. It's a window into the whole world of knowledge and information. Financial tools is another area that you must start to work on, looking at your cash flow forecasting, looking at your money management systems, looking at your income, assets, liabilities, etc., and starting to work through that process. And if you haven't done so already, really fine-tune those tools. On a personal level, when it comes to relationships, we already know they get challenged through recessionary periods. Start to develop a closer bond with the person that you're with. That means learning to communicate openly. Don't avoid the topics that have typically been left alone, the ones that have stood in the corner and you've just tiptoed around like you're walking on eggshells. And I would say to the men listening to this, it's time to open up. Too many men close down when times are difficult or when relationships have been going on for a long time. And if ever there was a time to open up and be really honest with your partner, now's the time to do it. Don't be afraid to talk about money. It's a big cause of breakups in a lot of relationships. So sit down, open up the books, discuss what your concerns are, discuss what you're excited about. And that brings me to the next subject, which is discussing your passions. Learn to have weekly conversations, relaxed conversations where you talk about what you want, what your partner wants, what you want for yourselves as a couple, and get excited about this. Too many people are focusing on the drudgery, the day-to-day activities, the survival, but they forget that life is also about pursuing your passions and doing the things that you want to do, and create a plan around that. And also, don't be afraid to look for new opportunities. We're in a time now where during difficult periods, huge opportunities open up. Some of the biggest businesses in the world today actually emerge through recessions. And finally, the last 2 areas I want to really get you to focus on are redesigning your life and looking at your health. On our Turning Point workshops, for example, one of the things that we take people through, and I'm going to recommend you do this now for yourself, is to start to look at your values, your beliefs, the rules and conditions by which you live your life. It may be that you've got a set of rules and conditions and beliefs that aren't serving you to move forward through this recession. Understand the environment in which you live, the people around you. Do you need to change that or change who you're associating with? Learn to relax and to meditate on a day-to-day basis, and also create a new purpose to your life. Have direction, have passion, have purpose, so that you wake up in the morning and you're going in a direction rather than just ambling through life, paying the bills and doing the job for the sake of it. So I truly believe that redesigning your life and creating new turning points is ultimately the way to move forward, not just through this double dip, but through any situation in your life where you're facing challenges. And lastly, learn to eat for vitality. Don't lower your standards. People start to eat low quality foods through recession. They compromise on what they eat. They go through mood swings because they're eating poor food. That has a direct impact on their immune system, which means they start to develop illnesses. They become apathetic because they're eating poor quality foods. So start to eat more live foods, steamed vegetables, raw vegetables if you can. Look at things like salads, food that's less cooked and more alive, so that it gets you into a more vital state. That'll increase your energy. Start to drink more water, and this whole process of eating the right quality foods will lead you to a train of thinking which is clearer and more effective in the way you do things on a personal and a professional level. There are several things you can consider in creating a fresh new turning point from a business and a financial perspective as well. As I've already said, I believe this is about an opportunity to redefine who you are and what you do. This is a chance for you to step into a whole new direction. During these times of economic change, often opportunities open up, niche business opportunities. Start to look at them. There may be opportunities for you to build a business online, or to expand a multi-level marketing business if that's something that interests you, or expand into franchising where you could take it around the country or on a global level. This is about taking back control and saying you want ownership of your income, how much you earn and what you do, and your time as well. So it may be that you could look at consultancy work, contract work. You become more flexible. You're more adaptable than, say, a larger business. You've got a skill set that you may have had for years and you've just not exploited it before. So maybe make a list of some of those skills and start to work out who out there is offering services, and you could go into that marketplace and offer the same thing and charge a fee for it. Other areas include things like the forex trading strategies. You could maybe use a managed account system, which is something I use, or you could self-trade, learn to develop the skill at trading the markets and taking advantage of the currency exchange rates as they fluctuate backwards and forwards. Or you may also want to do something similar to what I do, which is to take advantage of the property markets. There's passive income strategies out there, particularly in the current climate with social housing, houses of multiple occupation, lease options and multiple other strategies as well. Or you may want to look at generating cash, where you can go out and create opportunities to make yourself 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds in cash through the property markets. So this is an opportunity. That's the way to look at this next stage of the double dip, to go out there and seize the moment. So my final message is simply this: be decisive. Act now. Do what is necessary to move yourself forward. Don't wait for something to happen to you. Don't be a reactionary person during this double dip. Don't wait for a turning point to occur and then you make the change. You can sensibly take control of your circumstances now and do whatever's necessary, and be proactive. And if you get an opportunity, go and visit us at www.thebaldtruth.co.uk, or if you want to come to one of our workshops, go to www.booktheworkshop.com. I hope this has been of great value to you, and I look forward to seeing you at some point in the very near future.